Morning, everybody, and aloha. Welcome to Just Talking 24, page 21. Today is going to be part one of, and I don't know how many parts this is going to be. This is the third time I'm I'm taping this because the first two times didn't come out right, and I'll be explaining it a little bit later. But I have to go over some old business before we go over some new business. And last week I told you, we were talking about the Pledge of Allegiance, and I told you I'd research it, and I did, and I found out that it was written in 1892. It was adopted by Congress in 1942, but it wasn't ratified or it wasn't passed or ratified or added to the actual United States Pledge of Allegiance. It wasn't not ratified and I guess just recognized as our pledge until 1945. Well, because between 1942 and 1945, something was happening in the United States. I don't know what it was, but we were kind of occupied with something else. But in 1954, President Dwight D. Eisenhower added "under God" to the Pledge of Allegiance. I guess he felt, well, he was a very religious man anyway. And that's the history of the Pledge of Allegiance. For those of you that wanted to know. And then also I misspoke last week when I said that allegiance and submission were the same thing. They're not. Allegiance is you give your loyalty, but you will submit to the rules. You abide by the rules. But see, in the United States, we have avenues. If you don't like it, you can change it. They're not written in stone. This is not a decree. It is. It's supposed to be a fluid and movable thing. The Constitution with just cause. If it's warranted and if it's justified and it's ratified the correct way, we can change our Constitution. That's the beauty of the United States. People have said that the United States Constitution is the longest living piece of legislation, written legislation that's still in effect to today in the world. No other country has something that lasts that long. But that tells you something. Okay, just think about it. That tells you something. That what the historians say are true. That the average length of a country or of a governing power is 250 to 300 years. That means power for the world, not for the country itself. The country can you can be under your leadership, through the family and stuff like that. Look at Britain. They're still under the royal family, but only as a political, just a figure. They really have the people's blessings, but they really have no power. Really, the power is in Parliament. But there are countries that the king and the queen, they still their word is law, and that's just the way that country does. Because we have 172 countries or something like that right now. I can't keep track. Yeah, just hey, you know what? This square foot of land is a new country. Oh, sure, okay. But what I wanted to talk about today was and this is, like I said, only part one. It's going to be many parts. I found that out from the taping. Is talking about President Trump's tariffs and what they're meant to do and what they're actually going to do, and almost what are my predictions of what will happen. Okay. And I also wanted to talk about my experience with what made in China means, what made in Mexico means, and what made in America means, because that's a very important part of the tariffs. For the one thing, President Trump, I mean, his plans, he never has one, just one cause, like the deportation of the illegal immigrants. It's not only to get the illegal people out, but it's to clean up and make America more safe. There are many facets to the reason why he's doing it. And the tariffs, number one, like he said, they've been getting by it. The other countries been charging America tariffs, and I believe it was Senator Kennedy from Kentucky. He said, "Well, if you guys want, because the other countries are grumbling, it's not fair, it's not fair." He goes, "You want it truly fair? Let's do away with all tariffs. Make the market, the world market, completely equal. No tariffs, no hidden costs. You put up your product, and if the people like your product, they'll buy your product for whatever price you can pay, whatever." And I can see merit to that, but I can also see smaller countries will get smashed. There are countries that they rely on the tariffs. Yeah, they rely on because that's another way of taxing people. And that's governments nowadays. Governments don't know how to be run like a business. They either run a iron fist or they'll run like free enterprise like we do. But government itself needs money to run, and unless you like the Americas, the federal government doesn't need money to run. It just prints its own. Totally worthless. Just by our sheer strength and our position in the world gives us value. Go figure. It's like the excuse me, the price of everything is going up, right? No, that's not true. All it is we need more dollars to buy something. That means the price is going up. But that also means that the value of the dollar is going down. Now we need more dollars to buy the same thing. I remember seeing this one tape about pre World War II Germany, and there was this old woman with a wagon, a wheelbarrow full of Deutschmarks, which is the money of Germany at the time. And they said, well, I don't know how true this was, but they said that this woman was using this wheelbarrow full of money. I mean, it wasn't, really, but it was pretty full. But she used that to buy bread. That's how devalued their Deutschmark had gone. Look at Venezuela with their peso. At one time, they were, one of the world's powerhouses. Bottom fell out of their economy. And look at the exchange rate now. I believe it's something like 1 million to 1 million pesos to $1 or something like that. Some ridiculous. I haven't, researched it, but I know it's really bad. But that's because their money has been devalued. Now, what President Trump is doing with these tariffs is he's charging them money because all they're doing is sucking out of the U.S. People, you may not see it. You see it on the news that people are going broke because of these tariffs. If your business is so fragile that you're dependent upon another country to stay in business, number one, get out of that business and put your faith back into America. But people don't because it's easy. It's so easy just to import stuff from China and sell it on the market over here. It's cheap stuff. Yesterday I have where I do my editing for this program. I have my laptop, and I'm old. Okay, you guys know I'm old, and my laptop is a 15.6 inch. I like it because of its ability. I like the speed. I like the size. Plus, this is the first laptop I've ever owned, so I didn't know what I was buying. So I found out that the screen kind of small, and my eyes kind of old. So I just you an HDMI cable, and I bought myself a 27-inch monitor. And I got the monitor on a stand right in front of me, and I can just look at that monitor, and it's beautiful. It's like watching a TV, right? And what was happening was every so often when I turn the monitor on, there's an indicator light in the back, and it goes from red to show you that it's not turned on, and when you depress the button, the red turns to blue. And about a month ago, it would turn to blue, but then nothing would happen. Screen the unit wouldn't turn on. And then so I made a trouble report, and when I took it off the stand and I laid it down, I don't know, I must have jarred something loose because it started working. I said, "Oh, okay." So I canceled the trouble report, and I've been using it for about 2, 3 weeks now. And I bought this thing in the end of January of this year. I mean, it's only like 3 months old. But when I looked at when the thing, although the distributor is in California, it's made in China. It's Chinese made. But fortunately, I bought it through Amazon, and Amazon has an excellent. I mean, you get problems with any of its sellers, you let Amazon know. They'll fix it. They'll take care of the sell. They're run. Jeff Bezos put together a company that is old school and new school. That's why he's so successful. It gives you and it gives you customer service and it gives you quality. Although a lot of the stuff is made in China, but those are the sellers. That's not who Amazon is. Amazon is, it is American, but they go through China, so they're not really getting hit by these tariffs. I don't see it. I don't see any of their trucks. I mean, they just opened up a new shipping and delivery service in Oahu. We have a building just Amazon, so they're doing all right. If you know how to run your business, that's what it is. And these people on the TV that I see, they're crying. I'm going to go broke because the price for the tariffs is too much. Well, if you rely 100% on your income from products from China, oh yeah, it's going to hit you. But, okay, you buy for a penny and you sell it for $1. You got 99 cents in there to play with. And a lot of these people, they not only want their 99, they want another dollar on top, and they don't want to give to anybody. They get greedy. And they don't know how to price. They say they're going to price themselves right out of the market. Well, because if 10 people are selling the same unit, the same thing, sure, it is competitive, and that's what free enterprise is all about. What they should have done was taken the money, put the money, and produce a product all their own. But when you do that locally, of course, the cost of production, 5, 10 times more than what you do if you get it from China. But it's locally produced. One thing that you notice me doing even now is I'm always looking down, and that's because in front of me you can't see it. It's out of camera. But I have my audio set up. My audio part is very important in this in my production. I want to make sure that my voice is clear and that I don't clip. And I had I have a new hobby. My hobby is making cables. I can make audio cables. Very elementary, but I can make audio cables. And every cable in my setup right now is I made this cable, and it's working. It seems to be working good, but I keep checking my volume levels and everything, and it's and I clipped my second one. My second taping was pretty good. It's just that I noticed my voice was clipping, and that's because in the tutorials they have like how to hook up a preamp to your camera, or how to hook up an interface to your camera, or how to hook up a preamp to your interface, stuff like that. Well, my setup is a little different. I'm using, well, today this is a condenser mic. Condenser mics, if you don't know, they need power. They get the power from one of my units. It's called phantom power. It's 48 volts. It needs the 48 volts for the circuitry inside. But being powered by electricity, it's a little more sensitive, okay? And it goes from the microphone to what they call a preamp. A preamp is exactly that, an amplifier before you get to anything else. it amplifies the signal that's coming from this mic. Even though the mic is electronically powered, it's still a weak signal. So I put it into a preamp. And then from the preamp, I go to an interface. And an interface, what it does basically, it changes your analog signal, which is like dot, 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 dot. It's an analog signal, an actual vibration. And it changes that into a digital message. 10, 10, 10, okay? And then it sends it to my camera. And then in my camera, it takes this, it takes all of this information, puts it onto a memory card, and that's how I do my taping. And all of this, ladies and gentlemen, I had to learn. Okay, all this knowledge I did not know 1 year ago. Okay, so if this old dog can learn this kind of stuff, you can learn. You just gotta put your mind to it. But anyway, so I go from my preamp to my interface and then to you. And the reason why I went from a preamp to an interface is because when I just had the interface on, I noticed that this thing called gain, that's the power indicator, how much power you're putting onto the signal. I would have to go into the 90 percentile, 85%, I mean, really heavy, okay? Although that's what it's built to do, you don't run an electrical instrument at its full power all the time. Because one of the things about electricity, when electricity runs through anything, I don't care if it's solid state, tubes, whatever, it gives off heat. Electricity is hot, okay? And so if you can run, instead of running at 80%, you run at 40%, well, it runs cooler and it lasts longer. I did that with all of my motors in automotive. I did the same thing. All of my motors rarely ran above 145 degrees because we live in Hawaii, right? I have a thermostat. My thermostat opens, my water pumps a little bit faster, and my motor ran cooler. Now, that was because I wanted longevity. I didn't need high performance. High performance, you want the motor to run hot for that little while. It's running in the 200s easy. And that's because the heat helps vaporize the fuel. Yeah, it makes it to a vapor. And if you can control that, you get a more efficiently run car. You get more power, more bang from the buck for the kind of fuel you got to use. Well, your car, you want it to run as nicely as possible, as efficiently, but as mellowy. Well, is there a different word? But you want it to run very comfortably. You don't want it to overexert. Once in a while, yeah, you can get on the freeway, you got to give a little more gas, and your car just goes. But for longevity, that's why you change your oil regularly, and you keep the motor running happy. Keep the motor happy. And the same thing with my interface and my preamps. So I got a preamp, and I run that at today. I'm running at 45, and I'm running my interface at about 35 to 40. So they're very comfortable and they're running, and that's the sound that you're hearing. That's the sound quality that you're hearing. But I didn't know that when they tell you to set up these preamps, there's a green light on the gain, and you turn it loud until the green light comes on. And when it comes on, you're at 20 decibels. Okay. And then if you go to yellow, you're at 6 decibels. And that the decibels is the less decibels, the closer you get to 0, the louder and louder it gets. Because these decibels, this 20 and this 12, those are negative. So you're here at 0. You're still playing with over here and coming up to 0. At 0, then you have to use, then it goes into a different type of audio. But anyway, so I made my first one green. I brought my second one up to green, and then I taped it. And it sounded a little bit, it sounded good. It sounded really good. But when I played it back, OMG, I had clipping. Clipping it's so loud that my voice, it sounds gargled at the end. Slightly gargled. You can hear it. I heard, and I don't like it. It's very, to me, unprofessional, and that's not what I really want you to hear. I want you to hear my voice, what I say, and you hear the clipping and it gets to you after a while. It does. It may not be, it's like eating chili peppers. The first one is cool, second one is cool, but by the time you get to the 10th one, oh yeah, see the heat's starting to build. Well, same thing. And so that's what I did. Um, I've been tinkering with it, and I'm going to continue tinkering with it. I use different mics. I use this mic. I use a dynamic mic, and it's a Shure mic. They're both supposed to be professional quality, whatever that means. I'm not getting paid for this, so I'm not a professional. I'm still amateur. But but going back to President Trump's tariffs, okay, he's just trying to even out the playing field for one. Okay, he's gonna make some money. All the money that they've been making, we gotta make from them. It's about time they pay back, yeah. But one of the things that he wants, I notice, is that he wants the jobs to come back to America. Okay, and this is what I'm going to be talking about next week, the jobs coming back to America. Because I got to tell you about okay, I told you about my monitor, and I sent it back today, and I believe they'll replace it. I don't believe they're going to fix it. It's so cheap. They're just going to replace it rather than take it apart and change all the circuitry and everything. And especially when you're looking for an intermittent electrical failure. Those are one of the most impossible things to find unless the thing acts up. If it act, you've experienced that. If it acts up and then the mechanic can, then it registers a code. Oh, okay, we got it. But if it doesn't act up, nothing. Everything's all right. And that's the worst part, the intermittent, because they gotta pay. They gotta pay freight. They gotta pay the freight to give it to me, and they pay the freight back. They lose money on it. They lost money already on this unit. The unit only cost me what $100, and they've had to pay shipping to and from. But it cost me $100. Imagine how much it cost them, and they still made money. Made in China, but and made in Mexico. Mexico made stuff is right up there, if not worse than China. Let me tell you my experience of made in Mexico. I used to own a towing company, and my biggest commercial account was an automotive company that he had one, well, Chrysler Plymouth, he had Lincoln Mercury, Honda, and Acura. So he had four dealerships for four different brands, and he gave me, com- conservatively speaking, about $100,000 a year in business. That's a lot of business, okay? And so he asked me, "Hey, what kind of car you drive?" And so I told him, "Oh, I drive a Cutlass Supreme," and I had a. It looked brand new because I hardly drove it because I was always on the road. So I had an '84 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme, and he goes, "Well, Cutlass is GM, right?" And I said, "Yeah, GM." He goes, "Oh, we don't have a GM dealership." See the okay? Can you see the message? I told him, "Well, I was looking at these Cougars, and so at that time I couldn't justify owning two cars because I rarely drove my one car. So I told my well, she was my ex-wife at the time. We were separated, and I told her, you have an '82 Cougar. Let me exchange it with an '88, so I get the boss off my back, like." And the only difference is this car is not going to be under your name. It's going to be under the company's name. This is strictly a business deal. I need it for, well, to hold the account, and also I can use the write-off. And she said, okay. So she, agreed to it. Now, my cars, I baby. Those are my babies. And like I told you, I don't push a car. I don't push the motor. And I even do it less when it's brand new because I want it to break in properly. You break the car in properly, she lasts. That's what I found out. She lasts. And so my rules are, number one, you don't take the RPM above 2,000. Okay, she didn't have a tachometer in the car. What's 2,000? 2,000 is you stay off the freeway. You don't go up to 50 miles an hour. You don't even try to go up to 40. I mean, you can do 40 comfortably, but you just keep it 40 and under. And she did. And within 500 miles of getting the car, She told me one day that she started the car, and my rules are: you start the car and you let it idle for 30 seconds. The 30, at least 30 seconds. I told her, listen to a song. A song's 2 minutes something. But what it does is it circulates your oil and it brings the car up to temperature. Now in Hawaii, it's not really that important about the temperature because we stay between 85 and 75 all year round, unless of course you live in extreme areas, the heights, Mauna Kea or something, yeah. But if you're at sea level or around town, the temperature is not a big thing. But you want the circulation, you want the oils to circulate through the motor. Make sure it's getting to all its nooks and crannies, and it's doing its lubricating. And your car, it runs on an auto. That's what the auto choke is for. If you start your car and you have what do you call it, a tachometer. So watch the tachometer. When you first start it, it runs high, maybe 12, 1400. And then after it, quote unquote, warms up, it drops down to 750, where it's operating RPM. Well, that little time that it's running at a high speed, that's to circulate all the juices. The cooling system is not circulating yet because your thermostat hasn't opened, but it brings the whole temperature of the motor up to operating temperature. The oil, and then eventually your thermostat open, and then your coolant will start running through the car and keeping it cool because your car is warmed up. But anyway, she would wait, and while she's waiting, she heard a ticking. So she goes, the car's ticking. So I went to check it out, and the ticking was coming from underneath the motor. And so I took it back to the dealership, and they said, "Oh, you spun your bearings." I said, "Already?" I said, "No way I spun my bearings." She goes, "No, it's, it happens. That's a glitch." So they changed the motor. So I told her, "Okay, be very careful about this one." So she went, and again, in less than 500 miles. Now, she doesn't do a lot of traveling. So 500 miles is, a few weeks. Yeah. And she said it's ticking again. So I took it back again. And when I took it back the second time, they told me, "What you doing to the motor?" I said, "My wife's driving the car. I'm not driving the car." You know my wife, she thinks parks is, a parked car is speeding sometimes. But, she's very slow. She's very conservative. And so I noticed, he said, "Well, we got to change the motor again." And I noticed they had a motor standing by. So mine wasn't the only one. Then when I looked on the motor, you know how they stencil out stuff on top? It said made in Mexico. I said, "Automotors made in Mexico?" Because I thought the motors were made in Michigan. He said, "Yeah, auto replacement motors coming from Mexico now." So I told the factory rep, was a female, and I told her, "I'd like to have the motor teched before it's put into my car." And she said, "Cam, this is not going to happen because, Ford is not going to pay for that." So I told her, "I tell you, I'll make a deal with you. I'll pay for it. Just charge me whatever it costs because, if anything, I can sleep well at night knowing that this motor's all right." But this is the third motor, okay? I said, "But if you find any discrepancies, you're going to back charge them. In other words, you're going to take it off the total of what I owe you." So she said, "Well, let me go check." She checked with corporate, and I guess she told them, "This guy tows for us. So they agreed to it. And so Bob, he was the head mechanic. He said, "Oh, I'll go take your motor." I trust him. I mean, he put how many motors together? So I told him, "Fine. So take it." And he started about 8:30 in the morning. By 10 o'clock that morning, I got a call from the dealership, and they informed me that the Ford Motor Company would be paying for the complete rebuild of my motor. Made in Mexico. Yeah. He said everything was off. The torques, the clearances. I mean, not every one, but enough so that you'd have problems with this motor. Now they know why they're getting problems with the motor. And they told the factory, and the factory immediately went back down and said, "Hey, what you guys doing?" You see, but that was made in Mexico. Because Mexico, I mean, it's all, they don't know what they're doing, really. It's a job. It's just a job. But something like that, your machine, it's supposed to be all automatic. But putting a motor together, it takes a lot of manual stuff. A robot can't do it. You just gotta have your eye. But that's made in Mexico. And next week, what we're gonna talk about is after the jobs come back, what happens? That's gonna be fun, and I hope you guys, come around and see it. Again, I'm checking again. I'm running. I'm running fine. I'm running good. But anyway, it's about that time, and I just want to tell you thank you very much for coming. Please like and subscribe, and give me comments. Give me things to talk about. Okay. I don't want to turn this into a political thing. You know, I'll be an Anlanders 2.0. Give me your problems. I'll try and figure them out. Not personally, just in general areas. Right? Right. So anyway, until next week, just want to say ahui ho, maalama pono, and of course, from my heart to yours, aloha. Have a great week, and I love you. Bye bye.